will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And I was upset because I thought Hillary Clinton was gonna win, and suddenly I came out of the movie theater. I turned on my phone, and suddenly Donald Trump is actually in first place in the polls. I didn't go to I didn't go to daycare. I'm more outspoken actually with their intolerance, and people started to divide, and families stopped talking to each other because of politics. And because of that actually gave power to Donald Trump. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, Obama was a failure. Not for everyone.
Welcome back to the Creekcast, everybody. Today we have another special guest, Alfredo, on the podcast. So this is a different type of guest to the ones we usually have. He is the third teacher from our school, but he comes on to show us a bit of different opinions and different views on the world. So yeah, if you'd like to introduce yourself, Alfredo.
Hi, my name is Alfredo. I was born in Mexico City, but my upbringing was in Utah, actually. I spent my childhood here, actually. I went to elementary and middle school here, high school also, and then I moved to Utah for school, actually. University, part of my work life, and life brought me back here. So my life is a little bit boring, actually, I guess, just because of the pandemic. But yeah, I'm 31 years old. I guess that's also important. So I'm part of the younger, not so young staff at school.
Very nice.
So the theme of today's episode is going to be one that people are most definitely going to get mad about. There's some people like that, especially since our podcast has been a little left-leaning, not on purpose, it's just how it is. So we wanted to broaden up our perspective and get more insights so the conversation can be larger. And we wanted to ask mainly right now about the topic of right versus left. What do you think about that, Alfredo?
Well, it's like the Crusades all over again, I'm a historian, actually, that's my profession. But it's just people fighting because they think they are right, but they have the reason, but they really don't have the reason. So nobody does, actually. It's just very opposing views that people are choosing to believe.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just marginalization and separation of any topic really to really kind of have kind of a group to identify with and feel comfortable with being a part of. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah, it's most definitely now a clash of ideologies that definitely have taken a turn this past few years from just being, I just believe this thing, to just flat out just physical confrontations. So actually about this, we wanted to talk about the Trump era, since it's already over, as we see, for now. For the foreseeable future, it's done. So we wanted to ask you, in retrospective, just your thoughts on the entire Trump era and what's going on with that.
Well, how can I start with the Trump era? It was very divisive. Division, actually. There was since the beginning of the Obama tenure, actually, like there had been like some sort of like split, like a schism within American politics, and everyone suddenly became extremely intolerant. Well, more outspoken actually with their intolerance, and like people started to divide, and like families like stopped talking to each other because of politics. And because of that, actually, like that actually gave power to Donald Trump. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, Obama was like a failure. Not for everyone, actually. For a lot of people, Obama was a failure. That gave entry to someone who was not as moderate as Obama wanted to be. Okay. And let's be honest, like some of his policies were extremely left-leaning. But like that's that topic for another day, I guess. But unfortunately, people actually got disenfranchised with like the established agenda. Donald Trump was not a politician. He was a billionaire, a self-made billionaire, of course, because he started off his fortune with $1 million his dad loaned him, and his dad was a real estate developer, so he went into like those same routes. And the guy was a little bit smart, yes, you cannot deny that, actually, because he was able to outsmart the IRS in the US like for a long time. And like he claimed bankruptcy, I think like 5 or 6 times, and got away with it.
Yeah, definitely someone who knows his way around the system.
So exactly. So when he brought up like things such as like not white supremacy, but like the fact that like the white race was like under attack, and then the Latinos who were angry at Obama because he didn't like fulfill his promises, and he didn't like fix the immigration system as he had promised, and also some Latinos were actually angry because he had failed to like deport or like legalize illegal, like undocumented immigrants, and people got angry. Actually, like a huge chunk of the Latino population in Texas actually voted for Donald Trump because of that. They were angry at Obama and at the Democrats because of that. So it was just like an interesting thing to see. Actually, I remember the night of the election, I went to the movies to watch, I think it was The Accountant, like with Ben Affleck. And I decided to turn off my phone, actually. Like I didn't know what to think. I was a little upset because I got caught up in all that Trump madness, I guess. Living in Utah is normal. And I had given my support to Donald Trump, like openly, I guess. Like as a Latino in the US, that's like taboo, like it's like, I don't know, it's like slapping your grandma in the US. So it's just like it was not a good thing to say, like between Latinos, between everyone else, yes, of course, like especially at BYU, like it's a very conservative university, so I felt a little less threatened, I guess. And I was upset because like I thought Hillary Clinton was gonna win, and suddenly like I came out of the movie theater, I turned on my phone, and suddenly like Donald Trump is actually like in first place in the polls, actually, with the electoral college votes. And even though he lost the popular vote, which actually he made him lose some legitimacy because of that. Actually, he was named the president. My professors at university, actually, my history professors, were really angry because they were more like they were more leaning towards the left side, the liberal side, I guess. And I don't know. In my case, it was just like I had mixed feelings because like my whole family were like, how can you support Trump? And like some of my Latino friends, like my friends I had a lot of friends from the Mormon colonies in Chihuahua who were living there, and we're all like cheering for Hillary also. So it was really strange when I said like, well, I was supporting Donald Trump. What's the problem with that? And yeah, so I think I lost
they're not worth it. If they cut you off that easily, not worth it.
Exactly. I was still very critical of him actually. Like, I didn't like that his depictions of morality, like that suddenly he was like all these like God, it comes first like person, when he was actually like not living up to the standard. And unfortunately, like a lot of evangelicals did not think about that either. So I didn't go on with him because of that. Actually, it was the policies. Like, his proposals were not that bad. Actually, the problem was his attitude, because he's a bully. That's the problem. Like, he wanted to keep his country safe, I guess. Like, we all want to keep our house safe. Sometimes we make questionable decisions. Let's just call it like that. So I'm not an apologist either. Like, I lost faith in him when he actually he encouraged everyone to go to the Capitol, and like people felt emboldened because of that. And like the ghastly debacle on January 6th. Well, we were opening our three wise men gifts. Everyone was just was going nuts, I guess.
L gracefully.
Yeah, no.
Exactly. He was a bad loser.
Yeah, I think the longer the presidency went on, the more you could tell, like, his instinctive attributes were coming out, because it just kind of became more toxic and worse as time went on. So yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting take to have somebody who was a supporter for Trump. And don't crucify Alfredo for that. We're gonna meet the person after the ad break.
Yeah, so right now, as Masa said, we're going to take a little ad break for us just to get that out of the way and go full on with the questions. So stick around. See you 20 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds. So, welcome back from that little ad break. We're going to go straight in with the questions for Alfredo. Starting off with kind of how was your upbringing and the political environment you grew up around? Obviously, you have kind of two different, I guess, stages to look at with the U.S. and Mexico. So, yeah, if you could just kind of describe us about your upbringing.
Well, yeah, I was born in a traditional Western family, if we can classify it like that. My parents are heterosexuals, and I am. We're legacy, actually. We're legacy members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also called as Mormons. However, we have been asked, I guess, not to refer ourselves as Mormons anymore because of some connotations from the past. But yeah, but for these purposes, I'm gonna call them Mormons. It's just easier. I'm fourth generation in member of the church. Actually, I was born my mom was born in the church. My dad was born in the church. My grandmothers actually were second generation church members. So that played a huge part of my upbringing, actually. I didn't go to daycare, I guess. I didn't go to a lot of activities, I guess, outside of the church. So I used to go to Sunday school. I used to go to our normal services in the afternoons. During the weekdays, we had activities for the whole family. So that was part of my upbringing. So I guess I grew up in a bubble, some sort of a bubble. I went to kindergarten, but my cousins were also there. Actually, funny thing is, my mom and her sisters are 1 year apart from each other, and they all had children at the same time. They got married more or less at the same time, and they had children at the same time, which is extremely freaky. So, for example, my brother is 1 week apart from my other cousin. I'm 6 months apart from one of my cousins. Like, it's a huge mess. So we used to live in the same neighborhood in Cuauhtemoc, and we went to the same schools. We went to the same church. So I didn't have friends when I was a kid because I had cousins and my brother. So we grew up together as brothers pretty much, and we used to play with each other. We used to be in the same class at school also. So I never learned how to make friends when I was a kid. About the political environment, we never spoke about politics at home, actually. Like, this is really strange, but we never did, actually. Like, Mormons are not very politically engaged, to be honest. Like, Mexican Mormons, like Utah Mormons are their own thing. But no, like, my granddad, my dad's siblings, his brothers are all Pemex workers, actually. So they were very strong with El PRI, I guess. It's the party that was in power for a long time. In the case of my mom and her sisters, my grandparents were not very political, actually. Like, they used to go voting and everything, but that was it. So up until the elections in 2000, when Vicente Fox won here in Mexico, I don't think my family ever spoke seriously about politics. Like, not really. Like, my mom says she didn't vote for Salinas in 1988. She voted for Cárdenas, but that was like the height of it. Like, he lost, and my mom got over it, and that's pretty much it. So I guess also something different, I guess, is that my parents are both university educated, which wasn't very common amongst the lower middle classes in Mexico. My mom has a degree. She taught like university level classes in pedagogy, actually. So my dad's an accountant. So I guess that also they instilled me also like some sort of love for going to school, learning stuff, and they were very strict also. That's something I remember also. My parents were really strict in the sense of like praying like 3 times a day, reading the scriptures when I was a kid. Like, they used to balance, like, for example, like they used to let me read like a Disney princess or like the Disney fairy tale. And then like the next night, actually, I used to read like a story from the Bible or the Book of Mormon.
Well,
it was interesting, actually.
That was some in-depth answer. Thank you. We're looking for those.
That's really, it's really interesting as well, because obviously, like, hearing from all the previous guests and kind of the people we have on, it's a very different context to the one you grew up in. So it's really interesting to inevitably kind of think of how the way you grow up and the people you grow up with and the religion and everything plays a role in the future person you become. So yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah, well, we were going to move on to a next question, but I think you already kind of really answered that one. So we wanted to ask you for our second question is, do you know you wanted to be an educator from an early age, or was it something that was an idea later on?
The answer is no, actually. Like, I became an educator by accident. Pretty much. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be like an architect and construct like hotels and become a famous hotelier, and have my own airline, because one of my aunts used to work for Mexicana de Aviación, now extinct or defunct. And yeah, I loved to travel, actually. Like, I remember traveling with my grandparents and my parents, like, to Cancun and Veracruz and Acapulco. Although I went to Acapulco in 1998 anyways. So that's another thing. but yeah, so my grandparents, my grandma, actually, my grandpa passed away in 1991, but my grandma, my dad's side, she used to live in Veracruz, like 45 minutes away from the beach. So we used to go to Veracruz because of that, because we will spend like 2 weeks in there, like just like staying for free, I guess, at my grandma's house. We used to go to Veracruz. We used to go to like the swimming pool. So, but coming back to the answer, I didn't want to become an educator, I guess. I thought teachers were like, if I became a teacher, I will just be condemned to be poor the rest of my life. And that's a stigma, actually, like about teaching, I guess. Like international school teaching is different, but yeah. So when I started university, I decided to get a job as a missionary training center teacher, an MTC teacher. So I served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for 2 years right after high school, actually 12 days after high school graduation. And I spent 2 years there, and then I went to BYU, and the missionary training center belongs to the Mormon Church and also BYU. And BYU provides service like staffing and everything there. So the missionaries who are going to all other parts of the world and like learning new languages, usually they get teachers. So I was like, well, I served a mission, so why not? I'm just gonna become a Spanish teacher because it's a highly paid job, actually. For an on-campus job, actually, for a student job, part-time, it was a very well-paid job, to be honest. I think I used to make like $12 an hour or something like that, and then when I finished working there, I was making like $17 an hour.
That's not
which
bad.
was a lot for me in that time.
No, it's pretty good, actually.
No, not bad at all, actually. Yeah, so I fell in love with the profession of teaching, like teaching missionaries and like working in curriculum development. And I actually took a university class about like missionary training teaching, actually. So it was really strange at BYU. Like they used to offer that class for MTC teachers. So I took it just to get a pay raise. But it worked, actually. I fell in love with it. And I was quite good at it, actually. Like, to be honest, I was quite good at it. And I liked my job because I believed in it. So that's how my teaching career started. And then I got sick. I moved back to Mexico for a year. And the easiest job to get for me was teaching English at a small middle school in southern Mexico City. And I liked it a lot. And because I fell in love with that profession, I thought like, okay, I'm going to switch my major to education, I guess, at BYU. But because I was a super senior at BYU, the university wanted me to graduate. So I had to stick to my degree in history and my minor in management. And I was like, okay, off you go. I graduated. I started working at I was also working as a teaching assistant at the BYU library for research purposes. And then when my contract at Family Search, after my university years, I got a job at Family Search. My contract ended, and I decided to move to Mexico City. So just to try my luck here because my family all lives here. So I was like, why not? And I actually don't know how I got my job at my current school, to be honest. Like, I don't know who got my resume. Suddenly I get like an email, I was very surprised. I was like, is this a scam or something? And then I got an email from the head of the English department at middle school. And she's like, well, I'd like to schedule an interview. And then you're going to have to interview with the psychologist. And like she gave me the whole process. Like, you're going to apply for that position.
Who are you?
So, exactly. So I actually like it a lot. Okay. It's something I want to say. Like, I wish I had been braver since the beginning and followed my passions, because I've always been good at teaching. Sometimes I'm a bit neurotic, but I have a good heart in that sense.
Yeah, we see that, Alfredo. Don't worry.
And yeah, I mean, obviously, you mentioned BYU as kind of it's clearly an important part in your life, and it played a significant role in the person you are now. So, how did your time in BYU change you and your perspective on the world as well?
I was extremely naive when I went to BYU. I guess I wasn't used to cooking for myself or doing anything for myself. When I was a missionary, I used to do my laundry and stuff like that, of course, because I wasn't living at home anymore. I was living in Oaxaca. But it wasn't the same because the members used to help us a lot, actually. The local members of the church there, actually, they used to help us with our laundry and meals and pretty much everything. And then I go into BYU, I didn't know anyone there, actually. Like, seriously, like, I knew some people from my childhood who had moved to Utah, to Salt Lake City. And they went to the airport to pick me up. I had some mission companions whose families were living there, but I'm a very introverted person, and I do not do well at meeting new people. So I waited until my friends from my mission came back to Utah to meet their families, actually. Well, except for one of them, actually, because like he gave my information to his dad. His dad contacted me, and like I had a dinner appointment with them like the next Sunday, I guess. So there you go. But I don't know. It was an interesting experience, actually. I had to fend for myself. I had to get a job by myself. I had to learn how to buy groceries, how to cook. I didn't know how to cook. I hated cooking because of that, actually, because I was sick of eating pasta every day. And so like I had a limited budget, so there was a Taco Bell inside of BYU campus. And unfortunately, like that was the only thing I could afford. Okay, so I used to buy 2 crunchy tacos and 1 chicken burrito every single day of the weekdays. It was rough, actually. Like McDonald's was a little bit far away, so on the weekends, on on Saturdays, I used to go to McDonald's, or there was like this cheap, dirty Mexican restaurant called Rancheritos, and where they used to sell like these $3 carne asada burritos. Actually, like they were huge, and I used to eat there, actually. And at a physics class, I met some friends from who, like, well, at BYU everyone's a Mormon, but they were from Mexico. 2 of them were from the Mormon colonies in Chihuahua, Mexico. They are nearby Casas Grandes. And the other friend was from Tula, and we went to the same high school, actually. So I was like extremely excited. And then I saw one of my friends from high school there. And like I started like meeting new people, like Mexicans and people who had served their missions in Spanish-speaking countries, and they wanted to practice their Spanish with me. And I was like so happy because everyone was so welcoming. So it was an enlightening experience. How did it change my view of the world? The first time I suffered racism, I guess. And I realized that not every member of the church or not every BYU student was a good person, I guess. So I guess I got used to the fake idea that I was special because I wasn't from there, and that everyone will give me special treatment. And suddenly, in an American Heritage class, actually, one of my classmates, we were talking about like the ideal government, and he said it should be run by white people.
Just flat out.
And exactly, there was one guy from the Philippines in that class. I was there, and there was a girl from Sweden, but like she didn't count, and like not really, actually. And there was a girl from California who was Latina also, and they did not dare say anything. Like I was so shocked that like it took me time to like process it. And when I processed it, actually, when I came out of like that spam, I guess. The class was already over, so I spoke to the teaching assistant because my professor wasn't there, and I told him like what he said was extremely rude, and I took offense in it because I don't think why I'm being classified as a lesser being, I guess. And he did not say anything. Actually, nobody said anything in that class. Actually, like it was 2011, so things were a little bit different in those times. But that doesn't justify the
Yeah, it's not an
unkindness, I
excuse.
guess. So I went. So I actually decided to act up. So I went to the university. I went to the professor. My professor said like he will give the guy a reprimand and he will ask him to switch sections. Necessary. I was like, no, I want something like I want. It's not that I want an apology, but he needs to like be accountable for his actions and his words. And so I went to the university and I actually made a formal complaint. And
Oh wow,
they
really?
actually took action against that because it was like, yeah, because racism is against the teachings of the church. So like the university would have been extremely like hypocritical not to act out on it or like make an investigation. So I don't know whether the guy was kicked out of the university or not. Like they never said, but at least he wasn't in that section anymore. So I was a little bit at ease, but like that changed my perspective, actually. And yeah, so I became a little bit self-aware. Like I tried to change my accent, like improve it, I guess, like just blend in, like. And then suddenly, like I stopped like hanging out with some of my Mexican friends, but like half of my roommates were Mexican already, so it was hard. But yeah, so it was a process of an evolution. My view of the world changed as soon as I began to understand myself. My like which things made me uncomfortable, which things made me comfortable, and the way I was and I started questioning whether I was living my religious views like accordingly to what I was supposed to be living, or it was just like a cultural thing. So that was also a big part of like my awakening, I guess, because I was very intolerant towards like people who were different to me or like who did not like fit the mold of a traditional Christian person, I guess. So that was like an awakening.
Really interesting.
Yeah, just another perspective on the other side of the coin. As you see. Yeah, because people tend to just like say the other side is just it's just trash. They don't think like everyone has just these people on boxes try to fit them just to paint a picture of a bad guy. But you need to like understand that there are people as well. It's just different kinds of perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is actually, and unfortunately, sometimes we fail to accept that, actually, to see that, and by deeming ourselves intolerant, actually, or like by trying to, it's not avoiding bad situation. It's like by trying to avoid change, by trying to deny it, or just by trying to avoid like evolution. Like we're missing out on a lot of things, and that's something I realized once I started working, for example, back in Mexico and at the school. So that was interest. But yeah, that's another question.
Yeah, actually, moving on, we wanted to focus on more hard-hitting questions. Is first off, I just want to get this one out of the way. It's not bugging me, but I need to ask it. So, what are 3 of the main issues that you see with the world? Like right now, the 3 main things that are holding us back as a species.
Selfishness, actually, on every part of the political spectrum. Unfortunately, people are forgetting about the sense of community. Not everyone, of course, but like people are just like thinking like about like imposing their own views, left or right, actually, like, and like just like taking revenge on people. Actually, like the world has become extremely vengeful, and also it's the spread of idiocy, I guess. Like people are becoming idiots, unfortunately. Like they do not cherish, they are not cherishing knowledge that much, I guess, as they used to. Like I don't like as a TOK teacher, I guess I can say that actually. Like people are just like, whether if they do not like something, some piece of information, some piece of knowledge, actually, they are just like rejecting it, and they are saying like it's fake, it's wrong, it's false, because people are prideful, like people are selfish, and they do not want to change in both sides, actually. Like for example, I can see like this congresswoman, like I don't like AOC, one of the pack from and seriously, like I respect her, okay, because like she came out of nothing. Actually, she had nothing. I think she was a waitress before she ran for Congress, or something like that. And like she came from like Latino parents. I don't remember if they are immigrants or not. So she's a self-made American, which is like the American dream. And she went into Congress, and like she's trying to like I guess her intentions are sincere. I don't know. But like the way she accuses and she divides and everything, I'm just like, dude, that's so wrong.
Yeah.
And then I cannot advocate, for example, for people like Senator Ron Paul or like Ted Cruz, because like they're on the other side of the spectrum either. But however, I don't think I'm prepared to support, for example, a left-leaning politician or candidate just yet. Like I can't. Seriously, like
it's very like I mean, I think your view on AOC is probably gonna receive hate from people who listen, but it's kind of also that like people like to block out knowledge and certain things that are going on because there's so much information constantly that it becomes too much, and people decide to ignore what doesn't go in favor of them, and ultimately politics is just like the same garbage but on different, with painted differently. But at the end it's the same.
And what's awful, it's just that some people take that ideology and take it to the extreme, like anti-vaxxers and that kind of stuff. They're all like, oh yeah, well everything's fake news except what I researched. They're like, no dude, come on. Like I get the idea of do your own research, that's actually really good. Like be a critical thinker and think outside the box, not everything that they tell you. But when you transform that into an excuse to be a moron, that's when it goes to a slippery slope. Like heavy theme.
Your research has to be done well in order for it to count as good research. And I mean, it stood out that you mentioned. It stood out that you mentioned that knowledge and how obviously you're a TOK teacher in the IB. So how has that kind of shaped or helped you explore different avenues of thought? Because when we met you were a completely different person, honestly. I mean, there's been a very interesting change personally from how I've seen and spending more time with you, of course, in school. So how has becoming a TOK teacher and a teacher for us kind of changed your views and your capability to go outside the box?
Well, when I began working there, I was a substitute teacher, if you remember correctly. So I didn't have any responsibilities outside of like making sure you guys didn't kill each other and making sure that you guys were doing what you were supposed to be doing. So that was pretty much it. Everyone being respectful to each other. So I had a lot of leeway in that sense. I never neglected my responsibilities, but I was, I guess, a little bit more easygoing towards you. It's because I wasn't grading you guys. and I didn't have the responsibility of like, I don't know, like giving you grades and like recording your attendance. Well, I had to record it anyways, but like putting everything on the platforms and like making sure that you guys actually learned something. So it was different, I guess. Like once I got responsibilities, once I began teaching finance and then theory of knowledge, things had to change. And unfortunately, when things change, they become difficult for me. So I felt this enormous pressure about like your education and like your futures, and I felt like everything's set in stone. If I'm a failure, they're gonna be a failure, and like all those things, like those like mixed feelings that come out of it. And I'm a perfectionist also.
Yeah, anxiety
so
mix up right there.
Exactly. And then like I wasn't used to getting like leadership positions. I usually avoid them like the plague. To be honest, I don't like to be in a leadership position because I end up like freaking out and I end up like doing everything by myself. So I guess I don't know how to work as a team. Like historians are loners anyways. Like so I don't know how to work as a team very well. And suddenly, I don't know, like I remember like the first time I took you out on a field trip, actually camping trip, to watch to do well watching. Like I was like yelling at exactly a year ago, a little over a year ago. I was like yelling at everyone and like making sure like everyone was behaving, and so I remember that I was like,
we made it out alive, so something must have worked.
Yeah.
Exactly.
To be fair to you, it probably was very stressful having that many teenagers out of control.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You were good kids, actually. Like just a couple of like like I had to raise my voice a couple of times, but yeah. So that actually forced me to change. Also because like the pandemic began, and I also like have this pressure because I want to be taken seriously as a teacher, like not because of leadership purposes. Actually, I don't care about that, but because I want to show the world, or to prove myself, I guess, that I am a teacher, and I don't have a teaching degree, so I began to teach to study like this program called postgraduate certificate in education, which is the first year of a master's degree in education, anyways. And suddenly like the school supported me a lot, like they gave me like a mentor and everything, and suddenly I was being observed once a week, and I had to hand in like lesson plans, and like all these actually have begun to like make me realize about like, even though I was trying to be my student's friend, like their best friend, I guess, or their buddy, it's good to be their friend, but like there need to be some boundaries. So I guess I pulled away a little bit from my students. Like some of them told me like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay. But it was because of that, actually. It's just like, I guess the professional side is getting the better or the worst of me. I don't know. And also because I tend to distance myself, actually, emotionally speaking, from people. It's a bad habit I have, that I tend to push people away from me, I guess. So I don't know how to make friends, really. Like I never learned. So usually the friends I have, it's because they imposed themselves to me, actually, like on me, like actually, I guess. Like they are like, we're gonna be friends and you have no say about this.
Like, sure. Yeah, well.
Yeah, why not?
Exactly. So that's part of it, I guess. But yeah, so I guess that's the change. I guess it's called evolution, It's a change of ideas, like the fact that I want the best for my students, and if it means that I sacrifice a little bit of myself just to get them to be focused and on task in class, I guess I'm gonna do it because I care about my students. Yeah. That's pretty much like outside of everything, because like like a lot of my students have like very difficult opinions, like politically speaking, like about like everything, actually. But I respect them and I love them. Actually, I love all my students and their ideas, and also that's also helped me become more open-minded, because I was a little bit more not. I was a little bit more distant towards like students or people who didn't think like me, I guess. But it's also been an opportunity this time working at the school. It's been an opportunity also to open myself to new boundaries, to new ideas, without like leaving my old ideas or beliefs behind. Actually, I never checked my religion out on the door, actually, never. But that doesn't mean that I need to be like intolerant or like to deem everyone who's not a Mormon like unworthy of my friendship or in my acquaintance, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's also something I've learned, actually.
Yeah, well, that was actually
since I became your teacher.
Was going to be the next question, but I guess you answered that one pretty nicely without me even asking.
Yeah.
So
you've answered a lot of them just.
Yeah, just like straight on without asking, like you're hitting all those marks we wanted. So one that we really want to ask you, both Mas and me, is what would you say is the most hate you have received sharing your opinion?
Oh my.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Personally speaking, I do not support abortion, I guess. But I do not do anything. That's my own personal opinion. Why should I prevent other people from exercising their freedom? So I keep my opinions to myself, and I usually don't tell people about that.
Yeah.
But once I tried to say it and to voice my opinion, and I received a lot of hatred. Another thing, actually, and this one was a pretty big one. When I was a BYU student, BYU was receiving a lot of hatred, I guess, because it's not the friendliest place towards LGBTQ people. BYU has a very strict honor code. It does not prevent or prohibit people from being homosexual per se. It's mostly sexual relationships are not allowed, neither for straight students or for gay students, okay? It's not allowed for anyone. But unfortunately, the Honor Code Office hasn't always acted very objectively. So sometimes just students acting gay, like kissing each other and like holding hands and stuff like that, they were given a lot of unpleasantness from the university, and in a lot of instances they were kicked out because of the honor code, and they were accused of like performing homosexual acts, and unfortunately that happened. And the honor code actually, it's a little bit ambiguous right now, like with the latest update on that sense, but like you can, like, gay people can still not walk around campus.
Straight people can,
for example. So no, they cannot. Gay people can't yet. Like, if they are going to do anything, they need to do it like at home or away from campus, I guess. And sometimes that's not fair. Now that I see it, it's not fair. However, in those times when I was still a university student, was young and naive, I guess, and BYU was on the process of renewing its certification as a university, as a national university in the U.S. And their regional accreditation organ, which was like Northwest Mountain something, like accreditation office in the U.S. They had a meeting with a lot of students, and those students actually like voiced their grievances about like BYU and its 1950s style honor code. Actually, up until today, BYU students are not allowed to have a beard or really long hair.
We're going full strict.
Yes, and they like the professors do not enforce it that much. They don't
Yeah, just
care. I don't think they
old
even like
ideals, I
notice.
guess.
Exactly, and that was during the
Damn.
Cold
Yeah.
War, like during the hippie movement, and BYU had to distance itself from that, and like the Red Scare and President Wilkinson, he was quite a figure, I guess, like the BYU president. So, but that's gone, I guess. Like, and
Yeah.
they haven't just bothered to review it, I guess. And I love my university, my alma mater. To be honest, I love it. But like sometimes you like they do not like think outside the box that much, I guess. And so I posted it on Facebook about like because these people wanted BYU to be decertified. And I was like, if you do not, and I posted, if you do not like me at BYU, just get out.
I kind of see some patterns with that, with those words. I'm guessing you cut a lot of flack because of that.
And oh yes, I got so much hatred, like from people from BYU, actually, from people from my local church congregation, and even from people I didn't even know they existed. So I actually had to bring my Facebook like posts like to private sense and everything. I was just like, yeah, because like the hatred was like a lot actually. Like I was getting like messages, like private messages on Facebook, like, hey, you should burn in hell. Like I hope like I don't know, I hope you die and stuff like that. I was just like, dude, chill out. It's just an opinion.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what you also touched on with the issues in the world. It's you see a lot of hate, and yeah, I mean, whether it's justified or not, at the end of the day, it's very subjective. But as you say, like a lot of the times we get so wrapped up and we just go all in and just hate, and we become so aggressive, which it's just not right. Like wherever you look at it, if you're like attacking people, I don't care who the person is. If you're attacking somebody for their opinions and saying like go burn in hell, it really just shouldn't be accepted, because there are other ways of dealing with things.
Yeah, just like brute forcing your, well, not even your opinion, but just death threats to other people. Like it doesn't achieve anything. Like their person, if anything, they're going to believe their beliefs stronger now. Like, oh yeah, like look, lots of people are getting mad because I have this opinion. I'm surely right. Like going about that way about to change the perspective of other people simply isn't I think anyone should do. Like not only to change the perspective of another person, but just as human decency.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I understand my opinion wasn't my comments were not the kindest ones actually, and like I was like probably a little bit out of line now that I think about it. Like I was being very like not understanding, and also I was being intolerant towards other people's grievances just because it hadn't happened to me. Like, and then I was in denial, I guess.
Yeah,
so
and
that's something
I mean, we also touched on this a bit in the last episode where we talked about cancel culture, and I mean, this is the type of thing that people would cancel for, comments like those.
Definitely.
And it shows that like the fact that how you're talking about it on this episode and how you're expressing that you ultimately grew and you became a different person to the one you were when you were 20, 22, like whatever age, you're always going to end up growing. And I think a lot of the time the argument can be that by that age you should already know what's good and what's wrong and what is acceptable, what isn't. But people, it's very subjective because people go through different stages at different times. So yeah,
and now all the cancel culture thing is going full swing. So if you cancel a person for having an opinion, doesn't matter how disgraceful you think it is, then you block the opportunity to change and growth.
Yeah,
there is no longer that oh damn, maybe I was right, or no, I'm sticking with my opinion. There's no longer any change or opportunity is just gone forever. It's like there's no growth. It's just stopping right there. It's disgraceful.
Exactly.
So, we're gonna start closing it up with the big three. These are the questions we ask to every guest. Starting off with, who is the person who most inspires you in your personal, such as professional life?
That's a tough one, actually. I think my dad. My dad, actually, like, he has always been my support, my everything, I guess. And my mom also, like, we talk a lot because my mom studied humanities and I studied humanities, so we understand each other very well in that sense. But my relationship with my dad, even though we don't see eye to eye in a lot of topics, he's always been there for me, and I want to be a dad like my dad was to me, actually, like, because he was extremely kind. He was tough, actually, like, he was really strict in, like, especially schooling and church. But that wasn't a bad thing, actually. Like, he never indoctrinated me per se, like, he never forced me to do things. But if I was going to do something, he wanted me to do it correctly. And that's pretty much like my I think my dad is my role model. Like, he's an amazing human being. Like, he has given so many years of service, like religious service in church, without receiving a single dime, actually. So not only service, like religious service, like also humanitarian service. Like, he's one of the most compassionate people I know. He helps without, like, expecting anything in exchange, actually. And because I'm an economics teacher and I'm finance teacher, I always, like, expect something in return, I guess, when I do something for someone else. So I guess I need to work on it.
Really good answer.
Yeah,
that's a really nice answer. We haven't had that, actually.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, what's the next one?
And the second one, the big three, another one, the tough ones, is, can you name 3 goals for your future?
Wow, that's a tough one, actually. So I guess one of my main goals is to get into grad school, like PhD. I don't know if in history or in education. I love both. And probably history education. So, and I want to do it in the US. I very few, like, people in Mexico call me a malinchista, I guess, but, like, to me, I grew up in Mexico. I love this place a lot. I love the food. The people are extremely nice. I love Oaxaca, actually. That's my favorite place in Mexico, to be honest. Like, the city of Oaxaca, the Tehuantepec. But going, like, living in the US is America is my home. Utah is my home. So, like, doing my PhD in the US, and that will mean staying there probably, like, indefinitely, just to work. The second goal is to get married, actually. I want to make a family. I want to find a wife and have kids, I guess. And I'm 31 years old, so I better start thinking about that, actually, before, like, people like before my kids' teachers start, like, thinking I'm their grandpa. And it happens, actually. It happened to me once. It was so embarrassing. So my third goal, actually, is to live somewhere else in the world, not only in the US. Like, before, like, moving back to the US, I want to live in Southeast Asia, either Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia. I want to work there as a teacher. Why? Because those are the most sought after teaching positions. Like the best paid, actually, like a teacher working in Singapore, like an international school, actually can make easily around that, the equivalent to $100,000 American dollars in a year. Obviously, it's not. Obviously, Singapore is one of the 10 most expensive cities in the world. But if not, I guess in Hong Kong, I don't have that hatred everyone has towards like the Chinese communist government, because it's not my government, and to be honest, they don't even care about like foreigners living there. Like they don't actually, like, because they know they are going to leave eventually. So I guess that working in Singapore, Hong Kong, or Bangkok, Thailand, I guess.
Those are really nice goals.
That's my goal.
We'll hold you accountable when you come back on.
Back on season 7 or something.
Season 7 in 10 years.
Probably, yeah.
So the biggest of them all. The biggest of them all is this final question. Alfredo, what is the mark that you want to leave on this world?
We get that a lot.
That's a tough one, actually. Well, as a teacher, I'm leaving a mark already in the world. So I guess it's just like making sure that my students are good people. Like whatever they do with their lives, that they are good people, and that the little I taught them, actually, like that can help them toward this life in an easier way, I guess. And the fact that my students can remember that I love them, I guess, and that I care about them, and that sometimes I tough to them because, one, that's the way I am, and it's difficult to change once you get old, but not so difficult anyways. And because I try to teach them the value of hard work. So that's the mark I want to leave, actually. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be remembered or not, but if I want to be remembered, is because I was a hard worker, and because I taught at least one thing to my students, and that they can remember it. I had a couple of those teachers.
So now I
want to be one of those.
Immortalized here, so
you've become a legend of the Creekcast now.
Exactly. Excellent. Thank you guys so much for inviting me. Like, I was like, okay, secretly speaking, I was like kind of craving like being invited. I was like, I saw like you invited 2 other teachers. I was like, why am I not being invited? Like, but obviously I couldn't bully you to do that. Actually, like it could have gone against everything I believe. So I was like, I just kept it to myself. And making like announcements in class, like, "Hey, don't forget to listen to Creekcast."
Now you can really promote it.
So yeah, exactly. I don't know if I want to promote it or if I'm going to receive hatred.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll defend you, Alfredo.
Don't worry.
Let's hope people learn that there's different sides, and that the other side it's not the devil. Like there's people on both sides, and there's always going to be a story to tell and opinions and a lot to those people. So thanks for coming on.
No, thank you for inviting me, guys. And just for clarification, guys, actually, I do think everyone deserves an opportunity to be a better person, and the fact that I was a Trump, well, I don't know if I probably am not, but Trump supporter, doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It means that I have different views, but I'm striving to be better, and I'm open to discussion, actually. I'm not closed down to saying like, oh, I'm just going to like be voting for this and this person, or like supporting this or this person forever. No. I'm always open for discussion. If not, I will be
a nice note to leave.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
exactly.
With that has been the Creekcast episode 17. Yes, I got it right. Hell yeah! First time, first try. So The Queercast, episode 17. Thanks
Excellent.
for listening, and see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.